Welcome to the A to Z Golfing Podcast presented by AM Golf Trips. Follow the entire 2023 season at amgolftrips.com and swagseries.com with Andy Cezanne. Our guest today, Adam Gardner, all the way from Minnesota. Adam, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Awesome. I think last year, Andy and I, you were the first person that I wrote down on my list of guests that I wanted to have on, just because at the time, I never got to spend like a lot of time with you. So I always wanted to like pick your brain on stuff like that was going on within brands or outside of it or within the community and all that stuff. And now we've gotten to spend time through events. So this is pretty awesome for me to actually have you on now.
Yeah, it's great. I'm excited to be here.
And Andy's very excited. I'm sure there will be a point in time where you go over his full menu for the upcoming weekend in Vegas that we're going to spend together.
Yes.
So we got to find chicken parmesan somewhere. The last two trips I've been on, I haven't had it. So we got to find the chicken parm.
There'll be plenty of Italian spots for you to find in Las Vegas. I can't wait to hear about it.
Adam, I think I met you in 2019. I'm pretty sure when I came in for the swag experience, and then I randomly one night on Nick's birthday, I think I came by the shop to pick up a gold putter. But I kind of wanted to know from you, like, how did you get into the golf community, like the industry as a whole? Where did it start for you?
It started for me way back when I was in high school, which was many years ago. I had friends in the golf team. I quote unquote joined the golf team as like a social atmosphere, knowing that I would never make the golf team, but it got me out of something. I don't remember exactly. And then kind of just used it more for a social idea, and really kind of got into the collectible and putter interest during college. I had a couple friends that were on the University of Minnesota golf team. And I remember being at one of their places one time and seeing a Scotty Cameron putter and was like, man, that's pretty cool. And they're like, oh yeah, it's like $300. And, long story short, I was like, started kind of like putzing around on the internet, looking at different things, and saw this idea of like these super cool putters and head covers, etc., that you could buy and basically resell and make a few bucks. And so that's kind of what sparked my interest originally, as it does with most people that get into this collectible market and idea with golf equipment or whatever you may find. And so yeah, I kind of did it through college for cash side money, and just got hooked. And fast forward to like early 2000s, I started getting online a lot more and finding these different communities. And it was actually the first time I came across a website called the Cameron Collector. And if you fast forward today, that's where Mr. Doug and I paths crossed the first time, and actually where I met a screen name online called Veno199, and that was Nick Venson. And I didn't ever meet him in person until 2008, but had talked to him online and bought a few things, and could never really get to the upper echelon of the Scotty Cameron world, but did darn good on maximizing as many accounts as I could during the time to to flip products. So it kind of started with that. I was one of the guys that they didn't like on the pages that had 4 or 5 different accounts, and I'd sign in to, I'd skip class in college and sign in. I have 4 screens going, and I was fast, and so kind of got hooked and became buddies with Nick. I met him for the first time in 2008 at the PGA show in Orlando. I talked to my now wife, but girlfriend at the time, into going down to quote unquote a weekend in Orlando, that we would go to this show, and after the show we'd find something to do. So we ended up like turning it into kind of like a go to Disney World as adults type of deal. And I walked in, and Nick had left Scotty at the time and was now working for Bob Bettinardi in Chicago. And it was kind of like the first collector event that the Bettinardi brand had put on, and I was relatively new to that. And it was kind of like the only way you were going to get a tour putter was either at this show in the PGA show or at his summer social, which was a party they had once a year. So I flew down there, went in, met Nick, and the funniest story is, I've told this story 100 times to people, is it was Nick and another guy that's a good friend of mine, Jimmy Source, who's now kind of back into the swag community. I had this putter that I liked, and it was kind of like the old Faxon putter. So the Laguna, the Bettinardi was the BB5. And I remember calling Nick, and I was like, man, this putter is fantastic. It's beautiful. And he's like, that's the ugliest putter made. I never liked it. Doesn't matter what brand it is. I won't sell you one of those. Go call Jimmy Source. I was like, wow, okay, cool. So the first time I'm going to meet this guy, he won't sell me anything. This is going out. We're starting off with a bang, right? So I fly down to Orlando and get down there, and there's all these guys hovering the booth, and I was already late because I didn't have like the early access. I couldn't get in, and all these guys that had been around even earlier than me had already known the ropes and whatever. So long story short, that was kind of the kickoff of it, and I was hooked. I was in. I was buying, selling, flipping, collecting, and the crazy part is I never really played golf. And it's interesting because I never really took up the game of golf. Never really cared if I was good at golf. Never practiced. Never wanted to play golf. But I was hooked on the idea of buying and reselling golf equipment, and so even to this day, I didn't actually start taking lessons till almost a year ago. And it was actually after an event with you guys that I was like, you know what? I really like this idea of going to these things, being in the collector community, but I just can't suck anymore. And so I started taking lessons and like learning a swing and trying to figure out the whole game of golf. And I mean, there's some light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a pretty dark tunnel. And we're hoping to see some light with the game as we go on. So yeah, long story short, it kind of started back in the early 2000s, like I said, and I've just kind of been hooked ever since. And one thing that kind of stood with me as I progressed my relationship with Nick after he decided he would start selling me some stuff back in the day. He always told me, he's like, you got to buy what you like. Don't ever get overly frustrated with it. You're never going to have it all. We're going to always continue to keep having product available to sell. And like, at first I had a really hard time accepting that because I was so in the mode of flipping stuff that I needed it all. And that kind of like one day I just like that. I saw the light and I was like, you know what? He's probably right. Like, let's hang out on this. And we just became buddies. And, from there on, it was, a friendship formed. And then when he decided to start Swag, he said, I'd like you to come and, if you want to work with me and do what I kind of did for Bob and Scotty, I think you'd be a good fit for it since a lot of the guys in the community, the putters, the brand, the idea of being a collector, etc. So that's kind of how I got my nod.
Back to the beginning part of this, when you first started and something was like, I think you said $300. Now, I mean, I'm very new to the collecting world. I mean, Swag Golf is really the only thing that I've ever truly collected. So $300 back when you started, to me, sounds like
big dough. It was big money.
Big dough.
It was actually, and I can tell you the putter that caught my eyes. I'm going to butcher it, but it was a Scotty, and it was early Terillium stuff, but it was actually, must have had a PV, some sort of a rainbow PVD-ish finish, and it was actually, if I think back at it today, the putter was horrendous looking today to me, but it was a mallet, and it was kind of like a crescent moon, had a big white flange line through it, but the finish on it, I was hooked on the idea of like this oil can, super cool PVD finish that it had on it, and I remember going into I want to say it was an Edwin Watts back in the day, and I think it was $299.99 or something, and I talked my mom into helping me, like, give me some cash type of deal. Like, let's buy this thing. And then I never used it. And I learned a hard lesson with it because I left it in plastic and the humidity actually oxidized it and rusted it. And so when I went to sell it, it was already like not quite, it was new because it still had the wrapper on the grip and all that. But it had rusted. And so, I mean, a few $100 for a head cover was, I mean, big money back in the day. I remember the first time I saw a cover sell for $1,000. I thought, this is insane. I mean, who's gonna get to this point? And I remember the first time I saw $2,000, and then by the time Swag came around in the past couple of years, I've seen money that I never thought I'd see in the golf world in the collector space.
At what point does it shock you? Like, does anything shock you that you see out there now that you see going, crazy? I mean, listen, I've seen some of your comments about the booster and all that stuff. And, Andy is an advocate for the booster.
Listen, Booster's a love hate of mine, and I secretly love it because the community has really embraced it. And I think it's funny that guys, have done so much with it. They've traveled with it. They've gamed them. They've thrown in ponds. They've, had a ton of fun with it. And I feel like it's really brought the community together, which is at the end of the world, something at the end of the day, something I really like to see is when, people get excited to be together, because I think when you're behind a computer and you're behind a keyboard all the time, you don't ever really get a full sense of who the people are you're talking to. You become buddies with them, and with the private messenger, etc. I think you have and now texting and everything, you have the ability to have the constant contact back and forth. Like when I first got into doing this, we were on this archaic forum platform that there was a private message, but it was like almost like sending an email. You would send it, and then it could get lost in space or do whatever, and it would take forever to get back to you. Or you just posted it in the thread and you had to keep up with it. And if you were on it all the time, you did a pretty good job at it, but you could lose contact with people for days on it. Today, you have instant gratification, instant access to getting in contact with somebody to get a trade done, a deal done, etc. And I think that helps. I think that, gives a sense of people, if, they meet people in the community, so that when they get to their first event or their first weekend golf, or they find someone that's local to them, it's almost like, riding a bike, like you've been buddies for months. But to answer your question, I think that, I see something every day that surprises me. I mean, it's whether it's on a game page, a for sale post, a thread that I get sent from somebody from an eBay listing, or a private chat that someone has bought something. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I never thought I would see some of the numbers of the chase and the collectability that, some of these guys and some of these covers have created.
Yeah, let me ask you this. So, for everyone out there, and pretty sure anybody listening that has spoken with you, you kind of sort of handle the tour concierge services for Swag Golf, which is really cool. I believe, through the Don't Give a Putt website. The community that when you were in your early years and getting into the golf industry, as compared to now, are there similarities? Are there differences? I mean, I feel like there's a ton of product right now, or because I don't really know from back in the day, but I have to assume there's way more now than there used to be. But community-wise, okay, so community-wise,
I feel a lot is the same. I mean, listen, I'm still friends with. I see guys at events today that I've seen in Scotty Cameron world, that I've seen in the Bettinardi world, that I've seen in the Swag world, that I know from the Lamb world, that I know from whatever world, right? And I feel like when you're in the golf space, you're just in one huge community, whether or not you're brand specific, you're brand loyal, you're a fan, boy, an ambassador, whatever you may fall under, flipper, collector, whatever. I mean, we're all in it for this. We're all into the same passion of the golf club or the putter or the piece of metal in your pocket. That's what brings you together, right? And that's what fuels the chase and fuels the fire in you to have the idea that this is a collectible to you. To some guys, it's a product, like it's a golf club. You're going to use the club. I mean, 40% of your round at least is used with your putter. I mean, it's, people always say, oh, it's an expensive club. It's, $300, $500, $2,000, $10,000, whatever it may be. I mean, from a salesman standpoint or an argument, or from a club fitter, I mean, your putter really is your most important thing in your bag. I mean, you use it 40% of the round is with your putter. I mean, a good day for a pro is 22 to 25 putts is an amazing day. An amateur 40 putts might be, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's one thing that you have to look at and feel comfortable and be like, this is it. Like, this is what's going to sink a 5-footer, or this is going to sink a 30-footer, whatever it may be. And then, I mean, the covers are just the fun part of it. I mean, they're what really brings, the fun into it. Whether you're a guy that wants to match his bag, you match your clothes, you have pink's your favorite color, whatever it may be. That's kind of just the icing on the cake, as they say. And I mean, I've seen guys I just saw guys at an event that I've known for 15 years. I've collected 3 different brands with them, and we're all our common connection is Nick, obviously, but they're guys that I could text and call, or I've been to some of their weddings. I know their kids well. So it's much more than just, like, at this point now, an opportunity for me to sell them something. It's, actually, good friends, and I look forward to seeing at least one event a year if we can make it. And if it's not tied to a swag event, we try and still get together, on a weekend or something too if we're around.
As you touch base on it, that the fact that the putter is the most important club in the bag is 100% true, that I've neglected for half my life. I always thought, you need a new driver to get that extra 5 yards. That's not going to make any difference because I can't get any closer to the hole or in the hole. So, I mean, the fact that I think that the putter is completely overlooked for the majority of the round is something that people should upgrade that part of their game.
Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy because guys buy putters. I mean, there's guys that buy putters weekly. There's PGA Superstore guys that go in every week and buy something new. Just like there's a guy that buys a new driver every week. There's guys that buy new irons every week. I mean, they're always looking for the arrow that's going to help them, hit the bullseye or whatever it's going to be. But there's something different about putters. I mean, I think that people really look at them as art too. I mean, not only does it have a function of a club that you use a ton in your bag, but once you kind of find your sweet spot, that one kind of just usually sticks around, right? And then it's like the guys start collecting them for art, or they start buying them for, the idea of just having to have something new. They want something new. They're probably not going to use them, a lot of them, but they love to fill staff bags for them, full of them. They like to put them on their wall. They like to look at them. They like to show their buddies to them. There's nothing better or funnier, in my opinion, is the guy that has his friend over that shows him a putter, or I have friends over all the time that look at, my putters or my covers or stuff I have around my house. And, I have to explain to them what it is. And they're looking at me like I'm absolutely crazy,
I think we all have those moments.
We've all had that
but it's funny. It's funny how many of those moments how many of those people you can, a lot of people leave my house with a head cover when they go home. There's a story to be told about going, that's a pretty cool cover. Or they text me a week later and go, man, I saw this on Instagram, or I saw this from 3 years ago. I'm a huge Masters fan. Do you have that cover? No, I don't have it, but I'd probably find you one for like $1,000. And then, they're like blown away of like, what it is. So it's pretty fun.
Well, you've gotten the text messages from me about trying to get the Romanians all squared away. So they're
absolutely. Yeah, I saw George's. I saw the bag and the USA covers in action at PGA National.
Oh yeah, he was. So I shipped it down there. He was so upset that it didn't get down there the first day that we were in Naples. He's like, I should have taken a photo of his old bag. It was horrendous. I was like, this guy from UPS needs to get here quick. So
That's funny.
Yeah. So, to go back a little bit to the community, and you're talking about how back in the day, the events were really where you guys would really all be in the same place at the same time. And now we have this, social media is such a big part, and text messaging and private messaging. I'm not familiar with how the socials are, but I know what we have been doing with the AGT events, and now the collectors event that was at Big Cedar. We did the first one at Hazeltine, and now we're gearing up to go to Vegas, obviously. What have you seen from the first couple events at Hazeltine and Big Cedar that might be similar or might be different to like the new era of sort of collecting and with swag and going forward in the future?
Honestly, the coolest thing for me is seeing somebody go to their first get together with their first large group of people that are into the same thing they're into. I think a lot of guys and gals and people are in general, they look at a couple things. They're either sticker shocked by what the price of a private big event can cost, or they're shy to not show up because they're not a 2 handicap, or they're shy to they're not outgoing people. Behind the computer's more comfortable for them. But there's nothing better than seeing, like, when we at the Big Cedar event, and I mean Hazeltine last year was incredible. I mean, 100 people together, first event we've ever done. Do a 50-50 raffle, give away a ton of stuff, and guys, I mean, everybody in that room just lost their mind. I mean, I think people were so excited. Then to follow it up with Big Cedar, to go to somewhere that, I'd kind of been on a bucket list for me, just to see the resort, and to see the different courses. And then, you put 40 guys in a room and you hand them a bag that they don't really know what's in it, but they know it's going to be cool because it's swag, it's swag, and we're going to go above and beyond. And then, watching everybody open something for the first time, it's truly like kids on Christmas, right? And so it excites me just as much. And I know it excites Nick and excites everybody on the team. Like when we see like the final product go down of, the bags open or the event kick off, or, and the event end. So I mean, Vegas is going to be awesome. To go to Vegas last year for Super Bowl, I had no idea how many people go and watch a game on TV. I was blown away by that. So now to have like an event there this year, and you guys did an awesome job with it last year. You're helping us do it this year, and then to have the opportunity to play Shadow Creek is going to be killer. And of course, I can't wait for the swag to be seen again. And so, it's really cool. I think that the events, I would tell anybody, whether you're a swag guy, any other brand that you're, loyal to or something, get to events. There's something about that from a community standpoint. Don't be shy to go. Listen, everybody's had their first tee jitters. I mean, everybody's got, at some point, starts as a high handicap. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter either, because you're kind of all there to have fun. If you take the competition aspect out of it, which I think is good to do it as some of the, at these events, is that you're really there for what should be a 4-hour round, that when you're done on 18, you wish it was a 6-hour round. You really wish that you had 9 more holes to go, or you had 4 more holes to go. Maybe the groove just finally hit for you. You're now comfortable. And always, I always tell people too, if you can make it work, extend it a day. Most people can make one more day work, because by day 2, you don't want day 1 to end. You know what I mean? You're looking for the next excitement of a trip. So that's why I'm super pumped for the series events. I think it's going to be awesome. We're touching so many cool courses, great locations. I'm going to be at 7 of them, I believe. And so pretty excited for that. Might even try and, partner up with some low handicappers and see if I can't get a free ticket punch to Big Cedar.
I like that.
It's funny.
Like that.
It's funny, like, we had a good run at Troy Byrne. I think we should maybe make a repeat there, Z, but you might be hard to get as a partner.
You know what? You're gonna have the only one that I would say that we might have a chance is up in your neck of the woods, because I think we can let Rob run the show. But man,
I know, right?
I know. I got strings.
I think I'm gonna try and play Olympia with a surprise guest collector. So I said that was a home game for swag, so they can work that, and I'll maybe try and get to play that. So, really but yeah, I'm and then PGA National was awesome this past 2 weeks ago. So I look forward to each and every one of these series events. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. I think guys will be excited to be at them. And the two man team part of it is always a good time, because if one of you is on fire and the other one's just kind of struggling, you can still get around and have a great time. And they're being on a Monday, kind of sneak in maybe on a Saturday night, have a full day Sunday in a city, meet
I think
guys,
the really good part about the swag series is the 3 actual things that are going on. Like, if you're somebody that really likes competition and you're going to pair up with somebody who's a 0 or a plus handicap, you have a division you can go for. If you're a midline competition guy, you have a division that you can go for. And then, because of the community aspect and because of people meeting from different parts of the United States, it's really cool that they'll have theirs. And then also, we're also going to be having competitions that'll be geared towards everybody. So it's not like anybody could really be left out between putting contests and mystery bag contests and everything else going on with partnerships and sponsorships. Like, to your point, it might only take 4 hours, but you want it to last 6 hours. This might take
Absolutely.
5 hours and then have the entire day to spend with everybody. Somebody that hasn't met you, or somebody that hasn't met Andrew, or Frankie, or Carl, or anybody else who's going to be going to events. And I think that's what has me most excited is, we get to spend a good amount of time with a lot of the people over at Swag Golf, and it's awesome. The down to earth people, and for everybody in the community, like for us to take a step back at Big Cedar, at Hazeltine, and just try to display the brand for everybody, and then let you all enjoy it with your community members. It's amazing for me. I'm sure it's amazing for Rob and Andy and Matt. And I can't wait for March 20th. I'm chomping at the bit.
I know it's gonna. The only thing it's gonna do is make the year go really fast. Is the thing. I keep looking at the calendar, going, all right, you got Vegas coming up, then you got like 4 weeks till March, and it's on. It's gonna be fun. Kicking it off at Torrey Pines is a pretty sweet spot to start the thing.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. And trust me, I mean, you and I and Andy already know that there's a spreadsheet document with 2024 on it. Rob is just hovering over it right now as he's waiting to hear this. So,
Absolutely.
um, so Adam, awesome to have you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a few days out in Las Vegas, and I'm sure we'll get some more content out there. Appreciate your
I look
time.
forward to it, guys. Thanks for having me
Thanks,
on.
Adam.
Awesome to have Adam on. Thank you again, Adam. I've been
That
waiting
was
for
a lot
that
of
for a
fun.
long time, Andy.
Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of insight. I didn't know all of his backstory about everything. So that's, I've been talking with him for over, a year and a half now. And I didn't know all that backstory. You just keep talking about things that you know about nowadays moving forward, but you never talk about the past on it. So I'm happy we got to that time with him to figure out and let everyone else know about him too.
Well, it's yeah, and I mean to your point, like we've started to spend some time with him, and I've never actually been able to like truly sit down and have a conversation
Right.
one on one with him, right? I mean, it's always with a
Yeah.
group of people, and it's kind of like the next episode we have Andrew Schmidt coming on, so it's kind of like the same thing, right? I mean, I
Right.
just partnered with him at PGA National, but there's so many things going on that you
Yeah.
never like get that like more like candid interview style information, which I thought was great. And I mean, he kind of said when we got when we were talking a little bit, I knew that I wanted to lay it out for him, but he got going and I loved it. It was like six,
I
seven
loved every
minutes went
part of it.
by. I was like, keep going, Adam. Just keep going.
Yeah. I loved every part of it.
Yeah. So Adam touched on it um, earlier with all the stuff that's going to be going on this coming weekend in Las Vegas. There will be tons of more information coming out about it. Everyone's going to be able to follow along on every social media platform. But we actually just got back from PGA National in West Palm Beach.
Congratulations, by
I
the way.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The first win in 2023 might be my last time I play an event in 2023,
It could be. Yeah,
but
you and Andy
I
Schmidt
just
took
got
home
told
the
I might have to pair up with somebody. So
you got a possible opportunity. I think if you're gonna do it, the one might do it if he's going to Harbor Shore since that's tee times. Nah, never mind. We need you on the tee box for it. Because I was gonna say
yeah,
maybe you
that
up
one's going to
first or
be
yeah.
yeah. I think I'm going to do the tee box and then I'll probably run over to 18.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely don't want to do it. I had a great partner. I had to explain to him what the gross division was. It was
Which
pretty
you won.
funny.
Which you won.
Which we won. Which it took him three
Explain
days
to
to.
me the gross division then, in case anyone else doesn't understand it.
Listen, I don't know what Andrew's handicap was going into it. Andrew Schmidt was my partner at PGA National. But every single day that we played, he was like, "Man, we're doing well in net," and I was like, "Well, we're one shot out of the lead in gross." But to his credit, which he explained to me, when you haven't been in the gross
hmm
division, which is just your score, right? There's no adjustment to handicap. There's no nothing. Um, you don't really look at it. Like him and Frankie
Yeah,
Ellingson won the net division last year at a series event at gosh, I'm going to draw a blank, the Glen Club.
the Glen Club.
And
Yep.
so when you are a mid to higher range handicap, you are only going to look at those scores because they
Yep.
translate to what you're playing for. So we just kept going on and on and on, and then made a couple birdies in the final round, first hole, and almost had a hole in one on the seventh hole, which was pretty crazy. But
No way.
it was I had one hop off the side of the flagstick and shot it like about 4 feet to the left. So no, it was exciting. It was great. I was really blown away by the entirety of the resort.
hmm
I've been to a lot of resorts. We've been to a lot of resorts lately. Um, the secondary golf courses, I would call it, the resort courses, were well maintained. They're obviously not the championship course
Yeah.
at PGA National where the Honda Classic is played, but they're well kept. The green speeds are very consistent. They're manicured. They don't let them go. They have pride in their other golf courses, which I really liked, and their hospitality was great.
Yeah, the whole resort was amazing. You're there for everything. They do have the one course that's a little bit off campus if you wanted to go to that one, but for what we needed and everything, there was no reason to leave the resort, unless you wanted to go out for maybe a dinner or something like that somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, we started. Which one was the first course? The Fazio course we started with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that course was, we had a little bit of wind coming out that day, but it wasn't bad. Um, and the weather held up for us, and the weather got better each day, and each day I felt like the course got even better and better. That championship course was something to see, like with those grandstands coming up the way you guys did. I mean, like, how did it feel coming down 18, seeing those grandstands there, coming up to a finish, knowing that you're in contention for to possibly win something, and to see, just imagining all that around.
Well, I mean, I think you enjoy the moments as they come along, right? So, for instance, we talked about it earlier in the podcast, but I'll be going to Arizona. Actually, this recording will come out at some point, but just to let you know, we're recording on a Monday. I'm leaving tomorrow to go to the Waste Management. It's my first time, so I guess the grandstands are really cool to look at. I mean, they really are. To give you an idea and like think about all those people watching every single movement that you're doing, and I mean, even as somebody who is a zero handicap, I mean, not that you feel nervous because there's nobody in those seats, but
Yeah,
when you're playing in competition and you know that roughly you're within striking distance or one shot behind or one shot ahead. I mean, every single hole has its own magnification. I went into the weekend, I couldn't hit a driver to save my life. I don't know what is going on with the driver. And then we got up on 18 and I hit the best drive that I've hit all year. Yes, it's been a short year, but I did play golf for 9 straight days in Florida. And then hit probably the best 3-wood that I've hit. And then hit a
yeah,
great chip shot onto the green. And with how the wind was, I mean, I really thought I had to make a birdie for us to probably win it outright by a couple shots, but in the end to win it by one. But I think it was the experience. I got to play with Andrew, but then we also had one of Andrew's really close friends, Drew Clare, in our group. And
yeah.
when we got to 15, when we got to 16, when we got to 17, the 17th hole, I can't compare it to 16 at Scottsdale, but it's massive. Like, if people
Yeah.
don't understand, it is literally from behind you all the way down the one side. And now I know I've seen the aerials at TPC and it's on both sides and it's crazy. But I was really surprised with like how big the 17th hole grandstands were.
Yeah. So how did you fare? How did you and Andrew fared in the bear trap?
Um, let's see. Wow. I mean, I got to go back. So 17, I got to work backwards. 17 hit the green.
Yeah.
Two putted for par. 16 hit it long left of the green, chipped down, tapped in. And then I think on 15, we used Andrew's tee shot.
Nice.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he just covered the right-hand side and he hit a great. I thought he was going to make the putt. And it just came up like short and drifted off to the right, and he had a tap in for a 3. So as a team, 3-4-3 was really good. I mean,
Oh yeah.
talking to Rob, and I mean Brian Lofton. I think Brian birdied 15 and 17, or no, maybe
Oh, no way.
Joe Corset birdied 15 and Brian birdied 17. So, um, listen, the other thing too is at these events we are not playing the 7,455 yards that the professionals play, but I
Yeah.
can tell you that even from the tee boxes that we played, yes, you can hit an iron off of some of the par fours, but the second shots into the Champions course were probably top 3 hardest second shot golf course I think I've played in my
Oh
life.
wow.
So yeah,
Well, now I got to ask,
very much so.
what's above that?
Um, I mean, really, a lot of the courses that have elevated greens.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to like pick one out. Spyglass is definitely a second shot golf
Right.
course. That for more so because you have to work the golf ball so hard. I mean, you can't hit a fade in the 4. I think it is. You have to hit a hook.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of the par fives that have the runoffs where you got to hit fades into them. There's a couple par threes where you got to hit like either like a little baby draw or straight ball. So, um, but yeah, I mean, definitely second shot golf course. We're gonna see 100 people, 90 people play Shadow Creek. Shadow from the tips is extremely a second shot golf course. It is a
Yeah.
placement every single shot is really placement. Now they don't have a lot of rough out there, so you can get away with a few things, but on those greens, the size of them, the complexity of them, the slope in them. So I don't know if I'd put those in there. I'd have to go through a laundry list of
Yeah.
Chicago Golf Club is a second shot golf course, um, but no,
Well,
PGA National was great.
we had a fun time out on the par three course at PGA National. Also, we did the closest to the pin on every single hole, and you got a
Mm-hmm.
mystery black box, gift for what the prize was for everyone, and everyone had a good time. Just taking one or two clubs out there, just hitting the closest two, moving on to the next. Had the music blaring, drinks
Yeah,
flowing. It was a great time.
I think we had 18 people in one of the groups,
Yeah,
and then a few foursomes behind it. I know
yeah,
Adam. We didn't get a chance to talk about. He played with Brian exclusively. They had a great time. So just another thing at events that we do. The reason why we want to get out on these short courses is because hey, we normally get to play in foursomes or threesomes
yeah,
when we're out playing by ourselves or at these events foursomes. It's a good time to get some music out there and just walk around with 16 people you don't know and get to know people and do some fun stuff outside the box, and then everybody congregates on a green and we do a putting contest. I mean, that's we've really laid it out over the last couple of years how we want to do
yeah.
things, and I think that's the exciting part for 2023 with the shotguns, which last year some of
Right.
our best content came from Elgin Country Club when we did a shotgun. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. We had one hole in one on the par three contest too. It was the camera guy from Dialed Golf getting it in there,
He did.
showing them all up, showing them how to do it.
Rylan,
Yeah. Yeah, it gives me hope
shout
for
out.
my camera gear to finally get a hole in one sometime on camera.
Shout out to Dialed Golf for joining us down at PGA National. Their content is
Yeah.
great. Check them out. He also chopped his finger off the next day with the drone, so that was pretty funny. So from a hole in one
Oh no.
to he didn't completely chop his finger
He
off,
get
but
yeah,
he got a few.
that's gonna get you. Oof.
He got busted up pretty good.
Oof.
So Andy, we normally sign off with this. You'll sign off with this, but we've been doing these stories, and I felt that going into Vegas, I had to tell my best Vegas story.
Yeah. I can't
So I'm
wait.
not going to name names, but for anybody that's going to hear
Just
this,
make up new names for it. That's
if you look back through our website and find out who I played with at the first Super Bowl event, you'll be able to figure out who I'm talking about. But one of my dearest friends who I've met through the swag golf world, we played together, and on the final day, I think we were 2 shots out of the lead, and we were in the second to last group. We played with Ben Kilborn and Matt
mm-hmm.
Inch. My partner was a 3 or 4 handicap, which I proceeded for the first 4 holes to watch him hit these smothered duck hooks the whole time. And I've told this story, so people are probably already laughing at it. But we got to the 5th tee box, and I believe it was a par 3. And he reached over and he was like, "Hey, just want to let you know. I think I took way too many edibles before this round." And it basically summarized the first 4 holes. The aimless walking around, the eating the snacks in the cart. We had probably the greatest time. I did not partake, but just the fact that he told me 5 holes later and got to spend the rest of the day with him was probably one of the greatest stories that I will forever tell in the game of golf.
Oh, that's great.
Playing with somebody. We did not come close to winning. We did not make a comeback from 2 to 3 back. I think we shot 75 as a team between a +1 and a 4 handicap. It was not a good day for us, but the most
But you had a
fun
great time.
most fun that I think I've ever had in a round of golf. And to summarize, how a +1 and we played with Ben Kilborn at the time. Ben was and still is very competitive. And here's these 2 boneheads over here just laughing and having a good time. And he's over there trying to groom Matt Inch to hit a chip shot by his ball so he can see a putt. He had a lot of things going on, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was a story I will
Inch
forever
is a
remember.
competitive guy too, but he's also more he'll relax though a little bit quicker than Ben will.
100% he relaxed. And
Yeah.
I remember, I could tell stories from the entire round. Inch had a 30-foot putt, and Ben's mark was literally 5 feet in front of it. and Inch hit this putt like 30 feet past. And at the time, Ben was putting for a par, and Inch, who wasn't stroking on the hole, was putting for a bogey. And I remember he hit it way past, and Ben, just the look on Ben's face. So then Inch deliberately tried to hit it all the way back to where he was. And at that point, he's putting for a 7. And as the competitor in the group, I was like, dude, it's good. Like, I'm not going to sit here and watch you give him another putt to look at. So, in the grand scheme of things, I think Ben putted down and missed and made a bogey, but in the long run, I don't think it mattered. But it was just one of those fun experiences of watching somebody just back and forth, and
That's fun.
me and Nick were just laughing and having a good time. So that's my Vegas story. I'm sure there will be new stories to tell when we get Andrew Schmidt on for the next episode. So
yeah, can't wait. 3 years in a row we've been in
looking-
Vegas for Super Bowl. It's been fun. Been looking forward to it every year.
It's going to be awesome. Last time we were there and Brian Lofton was there, he won a significant amount of money. So on a square, he won third quarter, fourth quarter, and the game because nobody scored. So
that's right. He was running around the whole place. He was out of breath when he was done.
He was the biggest Chiefs fan celebrating a Chiefs loss. I loved it.
Yeah,
loved it. So
that was great.
Andy, tell everybody where they can find us.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram, A to Z Golfing Podcast, as well as AM Golf Trips. You can find us on Facebook at the AM Golf Trips private page and public page. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us all over. It's all going to be right down here. Just follow one of those, and we'll see you soon.
Andy's got a master list. So everybody out there, thank you for listening. Huge things coming up here on February 15th with the Swag Series.
See you soon.